Hello, and I'm going to talk to you today about global cooling. Now, this global cooling is affected by global warming. And don't be mystified by all the deceptive data out there. They're saying this is the coldest winter on record and about major snowfalls and stuff like that. They're not giving you the full facts. They're giving you small pieces of data. Yeah, there's certain areas of the world that are a little bit colder this year, and the majority of the world is seeing snowfall. But you got to understand why. Just because the winters have more snow does not mean that global warming is not happening. The average winter temperature has not significantly changed in the last century, or pretty close to a century. I'll give you some data here. I'm going to go from 1970 because before that it was significantly cooler because of effects in weather trends, which is obviously true from between 1900 to 1940 and 1950s. But now in 1970, from 1970 to 1973, the average temperature was about 31 degrees during the winter time. From 1973 to 1975, it averaged between about 28 degrees. Between 1977 to 1980, I believe, it averaged about 32 degrees on average. Now, the only fluctuations, even up to date, it is only averaged between 25 and 32 to 34 degrees, 33 degrees. I'm sorry. So that's stayed constant. So the weather temperature has stayed constant. So them telling you about breaking on real cold weather, that is not the average for the winter. That is the average for a specific place like the United States or another country. We're talking about the mean temperature, the actual temperature globally during the winter. Okay? Now there was fluctuations in 1981 where the temperature was 34 degrees. These are just natural anomalies that are in weather, okay? And in 2000, it was 34.5 degrees, and then 1995 it was 33.5 degrees. They're the only warm points that I can identify during that period of time between 1970 to present. Now, you hearing all this data out there, and all these people talking about the snowfall being significant and all that stuff. They're not following true science, and they're not tracking the people that are actually following this information. First of all, Noaa, the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration. Now, these people study the global temperature. You can listen to whoever you want to listen to, but these people actually track the weather, and you're going to hear you're hearing all kinds of misinformed data out there. The data is insignificant. Go with the people that are actually studying this on a year-by-year, day-by-day basis. Okay, now, the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration said 2010, between June and August, was the highest recorded temperature globally, the record, okay? And it tied with the combined record for the global temperature for another year that was like 61.1 degrees. But during this last year, the highest increase in global temperature on land surface, I believe, and the ocean, I believe, was 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, but that's only through June and August, but it's the highest recorded. So we're talking about June, July, and August. That's 3 months. That's the high point of the summer, and it is the hottest. Okay, let me go here now. Now I have more information from the NASA Earth Observatory. They've even indicated that since 1980. The global temperature index has went up 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit since 1980. That's on average, okay? There have been slight fluctuations in that, but it is still above 1 degree. it is raised. And they have said on their site there has been significant warming of the earth. They say they don't know whether they contribute to the trend or man. Okay? But they did state this. Every 5 years, since I believe 1940, every year, the global greenhouses are going up 5% every year. So the carbon dioxide that we're putting into the atmosphere is going up 5% every year. So let's just say we go from 1980 to now. So 5%, well, let's go from one decade at a time. Let's say every 10 years. So every 10 years, 5 times 10, figure this out, it's 5%. So that's, what, 50% in 10 years. In 20 years, 100% more. In 30 years, a little bit more than that. So it's significant, regardless of what people are telling you, and regardless of what you're hearing out there about green gas emissions and fossil fuel emissions not having an effect. You're solely deceived, because if it goes up 5% every year since the industrial age has started, basically. And not to mention that, you got to incorporate the fact that China has not too long ago become an industrial power, and their output of greenhouse gases and pollution and fossil fuel usage has went up significantly. They're the major users of oil as of right now. And we have not stopped using fossil fuels, and we have not gone green yet. I know we talk a lot about it, but going green means stop putting poisonous gases into the atmosphere, or carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now, I cited, these are only 2 sites. You know, the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration. You can go there to their site, and the information is available to anyone who wants to read it. And the NASA Earth Observatory, that's available to anybody who wants to read their information as well. These are national and global organizations stating there is warming. They're not exactly contributing it to man-made, but we have significant warming. And irregardless, global warming has an effect, whether man-made or not. But I'm telling you, man-made things are contributing to it, adding to it. It's just like a garbage pile. I said this before. A landfill. Okay, you have a landfill, you know that it's significantly piling up. But you add another district into it where they bring their garbage, so it piles up even more. So you're adding on to what's already happening. And now I was going to talk about global cooling as well. Global cooling is an effect from global warming. You have these chunks of ice from the glaciers going into warm water, and the evaporation rate of salt water to freshwater ratio is different. Salt water freezes at 28 degrees, I believe, and fresh water freezes at 32 degrees. So the evaporation rate, from what I've been learning, from what I've been told, the evaporation rate of water is increasing in the ocean. So you have these mass amounts of moisture in the atmosphere. This is the reason why you're having these major snowstorms and major water events. Not to mention there's other things in effect too. There is another planet, the 10th planet, you can look this up too, it's called Zenith. I don't know if you even know about it. There is a 10th planet that is identified by NASA. You can go to the NASA site and find this out for yourself. It comes around every 3,600 years. It comes around. It has a cycle around the solar system or something like that. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it's coming around, and I don't know if you've been told about it. This has an effect on the Earth. This will cause the equator. There's like a bulge in the equator where there's a large amount of water. When this comes around, it pulls on the Earth. This bulge of water that's sitting at the equator will be dispersed throughout the oceans of the world, causing pressure, causing the water to come inland. I don't know how to exactly explain it to you, but if you want to learn about it, there are people out there explaining it that are scientists, and there are also people that are in government that know about this, and people are moving to a place in the Ozark because of this. I don't know if it could be kind of like a conspiracy thing, but it has relevance, so it's something to look into. But you take into consideration all these findings, all the things that are happening now in our environment, the weather patterns are changing, not to mention the fresh water that's going into the ocean, up there by the Arctic, and where the conveyor loops up around that area, and all that fresh water is getting into the conveyor, into that loop, and that affects the jet stream if that gets shut off. So you got to realize all this fresh water going into the conveyor, and it's sweeping the bottom of the ocean, the salt and sediment off the bottom of the ocean, which keeps this conveyor moving, which helps our weather stay in check. If that gets cut off, you're going to have extreme heat and extreme cold in different parts of the world. This does not take away from the global mean temperature. It just means there will be changes in your weather patterns, and changes so that some areas will be warmer and some areas will be colder, and some areas that never get cold will get cold, and some areas that never get warm will get warm. It's a conglomeration of things. Not to mention, we have another thing in effect too. The magnetic sphere, the magnetic poles are shifting, and this is not fantasy. In Florida, a airport reported that, get a compass, you'll find out that the Earth's magnetic field has shifted by 10%. They don't say that's a lot, but it's enough to screw up air flights as far as their trajectory, as far as planning out their flight patterns. So, and that's 10%. And now you got to look into the effects of what magnetism has on the human body or biology. You recently knew about all those birds falling to the ground. You recently heard about all those fish dying. We got to understand, when there's a global shift or an anomaly in the magnetic sphere, or whatever it's called, it has to do with magnets. We are diamagnetic, and so are all creatures and plants on the earth, because we're composed of water, and water is composed of a small amount of magnetism. Now, when there are anomalies in the magnetic field, it'll affect biology. It'll affect behavior. They've done experiments on behavior and the use of magnetism on the brain, and it can cause mood alterations. And I'm sure because these creatures, they're a smaller species that are more affected by magnetic changes, because you got to understand there's a lot of wave activity in the magnetic field. It's not just magnetism alone. You got all the gamma rays, all kind. You have to look this up. Don't take my word for it. Research it. Research diamagnetism, and research about the effects of magnetism on biology, because that's important to understand too. So you got to take into consideration all these things that are in effect. Not to mention this: the Vatican moved their library from where it's at because they know that there's going to be a significant amount of water coming inland. They know that. The CIA has moved operations from the East Coast to the central part of the United States. And I believe the DEA agency has also moved their agency closer to I think it's Denver. So all these federal agencies are moving away from the coast. What is that telling you? Are you aware of this? Or have you been informed by your news agency? They're not going to tell you. They don't want you to panic. It's not a matter of panic, it's a matter of preparedness. They're not even preparing the masses of people. They're only preparing federal agencies and a small elite group of people. That's not right. We're a nation of people, not a subgroup. Okay? I mean, I understand their urgency in trying to escape the oncoming things, but also the underground pavilions or places they put underground to help their existence if something traumatic would happen, they're not very intelligent, because earthquakes, magma, fault lines, all kinds of things in the earth would be pulling and twisting of plates and all kinds of things. What they're building underground, thinking they're going to survive the outcome of all this global change, they're wrong. Oxygen will be depleted underground there. Their ability to survive in those places they built will not make it. There'll be immense pressures coming up from the bottom of the earth, magma, and immense pressures coming down from the earth because of what's going on. So they're basically going to be their facilities are going to basically be under such stress, basically be crushed. I hope they had scientists that were bright enough to understand this, and they built it in such a way that it wouldn't affect it. But I'm sorry, I don't think it's going to work out. And if you're an elite person, you better make other plans, because I do not think this is going to be feasible. Okay, I care about everybody, the elite and the very small of people. I think what we should be doing is preventing some of this stuff with science that we have now. We have ways of doing things, and I've already talked about refreezing the glaciers, and we have magnetic engines now that can run indefinitely. We can put freezer units there and recycle that water and refreeze these glaciers. I mean, simple minds can do simple things, and these simple tasks can be achieved. Forget about all the complexity. Scientists try to build us on the concept of complexity. All complex things start out simple, and they branch out, and they grow, just like a seed, and just like the human mind. Imagine the human mind is a seed. It starts out, it germinates, it collects roots, and it branches out, and it develops into a beautiful plant. Okay? Now, this is what we got to do as people. We got to start thinking simple and start branching out and growing and making things work for all of us, because all of us are going to be affected by this global catastrophes that are coming. All of us. I hate to say it, all of us. And hiding in these bunkers is not going to help you. It's not going to help you. You're being deceived in thinking that it's going to be a safe haven, because you're going to be basically trapped in a tomb. What happens when water starts leaking in there? What happens when there becomes carbon dioxide builds up in there somehow because of the magma faults, bring all this noxious chemicals up through the earth? You had to think this through better than this. I hope you did. I know I'm not that dumb when it comes to what's going on. I mean, it's common sense, putting 2 to 2 together to get 4. Sometimes you have anomalies where 1 will equal something else, but in retrospect, pretty much everything has a certain balance, whether it can be altered or not. I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but that's the way my mind works. It's constantly multitasking and thinking and projecting ideas and concepts. I care about the benefit of mankind. I care about all you people out there. I don't want you to be deceived by the media. I don't want you to be deceived by those that are in power that don't have no common sense. And I'm not mad at them. I'm upset with the fact that they're neglecting the society as a whole. We can make this work if we would work together and stop the greed and the insanity. Well, I'm gonna let you go on this thought. Please research these things I've told you, because I had no reason to lie to you, and I don't have an agenda. I'm not making no money off this global warming thing, for or against. I'm doing it because I want to do it as a public service to all you people out there. You have a right to live in a more abundant life. I need to know that there's more beneficial things that can happen if we work together. Maybe this disaster will bring us together. I hope. Well, peace out, love you, preparedness, and research. Later.